Okay, so I know I say this a lot in videos, but I promise guys, this video is going to be a pretty short video review because I'm going to try something a little bit different with this spoilerific review of Avengers Infinity War. I have about an hour and some change before I have to be at the theater for my 11 o'clock screening of Avengers Infinity War. And I really don't want to be up until 3 o'clock in the morning filming and editing my thoughts on the movie, especially since I don't feel like I'm going to have a lot to say with regards to this film in just a review vlog. Like, I might have to talk to 3 geeks a little bit about it in a spoiler discussion a little bit down the line, or at a possible convention in June, maybe. But I wanted to do something different. So what I've done is I've written down a couple of things I plan on anticipating with this movie that will meet expectations, but also kind of address certain critiques I might have about the movie going into the movie, based off of, you know, just kind of my accumulation of eventual superhero fatigue, especially with the MCU stuff. I still enjoy all the MCU movies overall. You just start to kind of notice things and start to kind of realize these are movies by formula and committee. I have written down a couple of elements that I feel will be addressed in Avengers Infinity War, and if I happen to be correct in some of these predictions or expectations, I will do a shot for each of these expectations or predictions met, because I need a nightcap probably by the time I get home, and this is a surefire way to help knock me out. So here are some of my thoughts going into the movie that I hope are either exceeded or met, or, God help us, let down on, as well as a couple of predictions. I know Peter Dinklage is going to be in this movie. I don't know what role he's going to be in. They've been very secretive about that. I mean, Marvel and Disney know how to keep a lid on things up until release date, at least. I'm going to predict that Peter Dinklage plays kind of a cameo or walk-on role as Uatu, the Watcher. That would be kind of cool. I know we've seen Watchers already in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I would actually like to see Uatu kind of play a big role in this cosmic adventure or epic cosmic story, since we're going to be tapping into the stuff like the Infinity Stones and destroying half the universe. Uatu the Watcher, I feel, is a pretty significant cog in telling that narrative. So I think Peter Dinklage in the movie as Uatu the Watcher would be kind of cool. If I happen to be right on that front, I will take a shot. Second expectation or prediction, either Loki or Tony Stark is going to die in this movie. I'm going to drink if they die in this immediate movie, and that ties in a little bit to a later prediction. But I feel these are the two characters out of the entire MCU that have kind of run their course with regards to character arcs, with regards to development. I don't know how much more mileage you can get out of Tony Stark at this point. He is basically, he's where he set out to be from the very beginning, since the first Iron Man. And I think rounding out this 10-year journey with him doing some kind of self-sacrifice or some kind of momentous moment where he is able to pass on the torch and the legacy of the MCU to all the other characters would be kind of cool. Same with Loki. By the end of Thor Ragnarok, he's not even really a villain anymore. I feel there needs to be some kind of full resolution with regards to he's not who he was at the beginning of Thor, and that would give maybe Thor more incentive to continue the fight, is knowing that his mischievous brother has finally made an ultimate sacrifice. So I'm predicting either Loki or Tony Stark bites it in this movie. They may get resurrected in later movies, I don't know, because Marvel loves their cash cows, but I'm saying if either of these two characters bites it in Infinity War, that's a shot. General stuff with regards to the movie, it's going to have awe-inspiring action spectacles. I'm drinking on that regardless. Everyone is on their A game acting-wise. If someone, I mean, I kind of feel I'm going to be drinking on that one too, because a lot of these characters so far have had 1 or 2 movies or a whole trilogy under their belt, and they've carried them well. So I'm not anticipating any major acting flubs from any of this crew. So most likely I'll be drinking on that front as well. The movie ends with false stakes. Now this ties in a little bit to what I mentioned with Loki and Tony Stark, is that the movie ends on a cliffhanger. Based off of my own knowledge of the original Infinity Gauntlet, I'm guessing this movie ends with Thanos winning, in that he achieves his goal and wipes out half the universe. And a lot of our favorite heroes and characters, even though we know they're going to live on in sequels and other franchises, it's going to appear like they bite it at the end of this movie. I'm just guessing that, because I also know that there's a part 2 or another Avengers movie that's in post-production that's going to be released next summer that's going to pick up directly where this one leaves off. So automatically Marvel has kind of tapered off a lot of their stakes raising in this movie by letting everyone know that there's going to be another Avengers Infinity War based movie following this one immediately. So there's going to be raised stakes, or the false appearance of raised stakes, in that at the end of this movie a good majority of our cast is going to be mutilated or dead, and Thanos will appear triumphant. Another kind of general idea here with the movie is that it'll have an engaging enough plot, but with so many characters, I anticipate there's going to be some discourse and some pretty questionable juggling acts with regards to tonal clashes. And this mainly stems from the incorporation of the Guardians into an Avengers style plot here, where the Guardians have been very kind of fun-loving, wholehearted type of space adventuring. Avengers comes from a very more epic or grand form of storytelling with some darker themes at play there. I have a feeling when you bring Thor, it looks like Thor meets the Guardians first, when you bring Thor into the mix with Groot and Rocket and Drax and that whole bunch, there's going to be some back and forth with regards to comedy and dead seriousness, because what Thanos is doing is probably dead serious, morbid stuff, you know, dealing in death, and then you're going to have a complete kind of 180 with Groot doing something cute, or Rocket insulting Thor for some reason, because Thor is all about the comedy now. So I'm anticipating some tonal butting of heads from time to time, but it won't take away from the overall plot. Post-credit or mid-credit scene, I'm predicting that there's going to be something tying in to the next installment, to the part 2 of this Avengers story, and that's going to be making light of something on the cosmic side of things, because if my prediction is correct and the part 2 is going to delve more into the cosmic realm stuff that takes place in Infinity Gauntlet, more so than just superheroes try to beat the crap out of Thanos, it's going to delve more into, maybe, I'm guessing either an appearance or a reference to one of two characters. Adam Warlock, or since she's on the docket for the next couple of years, Captain Marvel, Brie Larson, either a full-on appearance or a reference to either one of those two characters. Even though we got an Adam Warlock kind of reference in Guardians 2, maybe they can develop it further, maybe finally like reveal to us an actor playing Adam Warlock, or maybe reveal Brie Larson in the full-on Captain Marvel suit. Either way, if I get one of those two references in the post-credit or mid-credit sequence, glug-a-glug. So that's pretty much all the bases I was thinking about, reflecting on, and I have a feeling I'm going to be paying the most attention to while I'm in the movie. I'm going to be checking off certain things as I discover them in the movie, if they come to pass. If they don't come to pass, then I don't drink on them. So when I get back, there's going to be a little bit of an intermission here, and when I get back, I guess you could consider that to be the spoiler section, because I'll list below what I predicted. And if I drink on it, it means it happened. And I get to go to bed full of wonderful vodka. I'll see you guys in 3 hours, probably. Alright, I'm back. Let's get to drinking. Peter Dinklage is not Uatu. He's another character, has a pretty integral role, does a good job with it, but he's not Uatu the Watcher. That's kind of a letdown, because I think he'd be perfect for that role. Rest in peace, Loki and or Tony Stark. You have to go watch the movie to figure out which one of them, if not both of them, bites it. Yep, the spectacles are awe-inspiring, for sure. Lots of production value. Thanos throws a moon at Iron Man at one point, and that's pretty impressive. Hordes and hordes of aliens and colorful characters all over the screen, so yep, that's some good action spectacle you got going there, Russo brothers. Acting wise, very good, consistent all around. Everyone's pretty much playing the characters they've been playing for many years now. They slip into these roles very easily. There's some pretty effective moments. Tom Holland continues to astonish me as a very fine young actor. He has a really good scene at the end of this movie that again convinces you so much that Spider-Man in this universe is, underneath all of it, still just a kid, and kind of his last scene in this movie conveys that sense of, you know, a kid who's way in over his head. And it's a good bit of acting between him and Robert Downey Jr. Zoe Saldana does a really awesome job as Gamora here. This is really a Thanos story first and foremost, and since Gamora is the adopted daughter, it ties in a lot with her, and she's given a lot of material emotionally to work with and play off of, especially with Josh Brolin as Thanos, who is the star of this movie as far as I'm concerned. It's his narrative, and he does a good job, even through the motion capture and the effects work, of giving you a sense of what this character is about, especially since, you know, we've only seen glimpses of him in other movies, a line here or there in a Guardians film. He hasn't had a lot of time to shine in other Marvel movies, so this movie had to work as endearing us in some way to the character of Thanos, because everything's been building up to him doing what he does in this movie, and I'd say Josh Brolin carries some of the heavier material and some of the more potent themes of this movie really well. Again, through the motion capture, through his line delivery, it's a really compelling performance. This stuff's affecting me already. So yeah, acting wise, good job. Oh boy, I'm gonna sleep like a baby tonight. Tonal, no, we're not there yet. Even in the spoilerish section, I'm gonna try to be as spoiler-free as possible. Everyone in my audience was really invested in the big payoff at the end of this film. Me, not so much, and I completely understand that's because I'm just, at this point, a jaded moviegoer who probably knows or researches a little too much into production and what goes on down the line. Like I mentioned before, this movie that's being touted as the end of all things for the way the Marvel Universe on cinema is now, there's a sequel to this. So any and all big stakes, no matter how compelling the performances are, no matter how visually devastating certain scenes can be, there's always that part of my brain that keeps saying they're gonna come back to this next year. They're gonna undo all of this, you know, emotional heft next year with the sequel, because when you keep touting up a MacGuffin, like, say, oh, I don't know, a time stone that everyone keeps talking about, and you see at work with regards to reversing time, undoing certain things, like, say, mass genocide across the cosmos. Yeah, not much stakes being raised there with your finale, when pretty much next year I'm gathering there's going to be some way that they're going to be able to reverse all that. I wasn't feeling much of the stakes in this movie. I kind of correctly predicted how it was going to end, and I don't know. It didn't have the emotional payoff that... I'm glad everyone else in the theater got some kind of emotional payoff. There was gasps. I think I heard a couple people crying or sniffling. This wasn't quite a Logan type moment for me, if that makes any sense. Even though I knew how that movie was going to kind of end, I didn't exactly know the how, whens, wheres, or whys. Here, having a knowledge or a knowledge of what the original story did, sort of, and kind of correctly predicting where the filmmakers were going to say, we're going to have it here, Second half, see you next summer. With regards to the plot overall and the tone of the film, this is my major gripe with it. It's kind of Thor Ragnarok, where one of my main issues with Thor Ragnarok was I was fine enough with some of its comedic moments when it was in character for those characters or when it serviced the plot well. But when you did have, say, plot twists or character moments in that movie that were supposed to really be emotionally heavy, where you were supposed to kind of feel some sort of pang of heartache or regret or sorrow or frustration with or for these characters, it's immediately undone within the span of 5 seconds by either a side character saying something stupid as shit that's supposed to be a funny line, or cutting to a scene that is tonally just like to quote Robin Williams, like Ray Charles became an interior decorator. Like, none of these colors, none of these designs mesh. So you'll have parts of this movie where you'll have characters reconciling parts of their extremely disturbed past. You'll have characters who straight up are involved in cold-blooded murder of their supposed loved ones, and it's supposed to be like this emotionally resonant thing where you're like, Jesus, I can't believe that they're doing this. And it'll immediately smash cut to, God, what was the scene that did it for me? It'll immediately smash cut to, I think, Don Cheadle teasing Mark Ruffalo about bowing to King T'Challa. Doesn't match up. And that's kind of a glaring inconsistency throughout a majority of this film, is that Honest Trailers got it right. You have an assortment of extremely quippy characters congregating in a movie for once, and it is kind of insufferable. Heavy emotional moments are immediately undercut by Thor doing Linorama against Rocket Raccoon, or you'll have Peter Quill, who's supposed to be getting some kind of rage going at Thanos with regards to something he did, but then he'll immediately start going into Peter Quill Linorama during that scene, and it's kind of it does get a little grating at times. I'm not gonna lie. This is not just the vodka talking. This was kind of my expression throughout those parts. I'm like, pick a tone, please pick a tone. This is supposed to be some serious shit for your characters, and yet you're all still joking. You're all still yucking it up. You're all still trying to out-linorama each other. It doesn't mesh. It doesn't work well. It works for characters like Tony Stark or Peter Parker to an extent, because those characters in and of themselves, their personalities demonstrate that kind of, quippableness. Whenever characters would force comedy into situations where it's not supposed to be comedic. There's a point in this movie where the Guardians are almost ready to do in Thanos, and you have Quill mugging for the camera, trying to hold back team members. It makes sense for certain team members like Drax. He is ready to just let loose on Thanos, and Quill has to hold him back. But the entire time, Quill's doing this whole, and even when he has, okay, here's some spoilers. When Quill has Thanos at gunpoint, and he has Gamora kind of as a human shield, like, even then Chris Pratt has to get in some one-liners. He basically is just like, I'll shoot that nutsack of a chin off of you, Thanos, at one point. And I'm just like, dude, he's about to snap the woman you love's neck in half if you say the wrong thing. That's all, or at least you think that's what he's going to do, and you're still making jokes, you're still going for petty insults. I guess it kind of sort of makes sense for Quill because he never grew past 10 or 11 years old, but I don't know. It just wasn't working for me, and that's part of the reason why it didn't earn the stakes in the end of the movie, is because when you've been kind of going back and forth between this is epic, this is This has gravitas to it. This is something that is going to resonate with you for a long time after because, oh my god, so much death and destruction. And then all of a sudden, cut to Groot and Rocket giving Thor shit. It really wasn't doing it for me. It was more of a nuisance more than anything else. It wasn't like aggravating me, like I wasn't pissed off. But it was something that I kept noticing. I know I seem like I'm pissed off right now, but I've had a lot of shots, and I have yet to have my shot for tonal inconsistency. So, bottoms up. In the part 2 Russos, let's try to iron out some of those glaring clashes a little bit better, please. Home stretch! There is a post-credits scene, everybody, so stick around after the credits. I will say this was kind of fun because I actually left my seat a little early halfway through the credits because I'm like, you know what? I want to beat the crowd because I know this 11 o'clock screening crowd is going to stay rooted into their seats for the very, very end of the movie, which is cool because, you know what? All the craftsmen, all of the gaffers, all the caterers, all of the best boys, they deserve to have their names acknowledged. And if that means, like, you know what, we're going to entice you with a little something at the very end, I'm all for that. I'm all for people getting the appreciation they deserve in putting so much effort into a grand spectacle of a movie like this. So if it roots the entire audience to their seats for the very end, I'm on board. But I wised up and I was like, you know what? I'm going to beat the crowd up the aisle. I hung around by the door, and sure enough, the post-credit scene shows up, and I believe I said that it was going to reference one of the cosmic characters of the Marvel Pantheon. It was either going to be Adam Warlock or Captain Marvel. I'm not going to give away who it referenced. It was one of those two, let's say. We didn't get a full on-screen presence from the character, but it's pretty clear-cut who is being referenced in that post-credit scene. So cheers to further cosmic adventures with the Avengers in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This review might have gone a little bit longer than I originally anticipated because of this experiment. Avengers: Infinity War. If you've been following Marvel for the past 10 years and what they're doing with Marvel Studios, you're gonna go watch this movie regardless of what I say. Enjoy, have a good time with it. I try my best to not spoil as much, but that's why there is this drunken spoiler section. Let me know if you would want me to do this more often with movies. I'm sure my liver will appreciate it. In the meantime, though, have a good night. Go watch the movie. Have fun with it. I'm a jaded asshole.